So you've got all this worship going on, this actual worship of Satan, this actual worship of his proxy, this false prophet. So if you know me, it makes very much sense that I cruise over to the Church of Satan website, okay? Because that's just who I am. And in college, I actually tried to get a group of us that were taking religion and society class, one of my favorite classes of all times. We had to do a project where we did group projects. There was like 4 or 5 of them. We had to pick a non-mainstream religion to go do a project on, actually take a class trip, go to it, sit through a service, come back, and possibly have a speaker come to class the next day and follow up. So instantly got my group, said, hey, I'm Mark. We got to do the Church of Satan, right? I'm like, there's one in Santa Barbara, Santa Claus Lane, from what I've heard. Okay, we got to do Church of Satan. So I did some investigation. They've redesigned their website since then. But I couldn't meet with anyone until I was a member, and you had to get a gold card in the mail. It cost like $100, and you had to I was like, forget it. So we ended up doing Scientology, just as freaky, right? But I wanted to go to the Church of Satan, and so I dug into the Church of Satan. This is explicit Satan worship. Now, some of you are thinking that whole religion is based off this idea that Satan exists and he's either a god or he's the anti-god, or he is the source summon worship. You would be wrong. The Church of Satan doesn't even believe Satan exists. Do you know that? Church of Satan, they're worshiping Satan. Not really. Do you know what they're really ultimately worshiping? If you read through all their literature, who are they worshiping? Nope. Themselves. It is a religion based off individual indulgence. Satanism at its core is self as God. Not only in biblical text, not only in ideology and theology of idolatry and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking the actual manifestation of the Church of Satan right now openly admits, you want to worship Satan? Just worship yourself. He doesn't exist, that's actually his greatest trick. His greatest trick is convincing you he doesn't exist. He's got a whole church following him. It's tiny, by the way. It's growing, but it's tiny. It's a nothing church. They can't even get a potluck together, I presume, right? But the Church of Satan, and so I went back, and they've redesigned their website. It looks just as creepy and weird as it did before. They got a new guy at the head of it who has a freaky beard and wears black suits all the time. And I'm not saying you should go look it up, but I've done a little homework, and I just wanted to pull out some stuff from actual Satan worship today. This is going on, okay? Actual Satan, Church of Satan, started by a guy by the name of Simon LeVay in guess what year? 66. It's cliche. They can't do anything original, right? So, first thing I'd like to show you is the 11 Satanic Rules of the earth. Some of you are like, wait a minute. I don't get into Satanism to have to follow rules, right? Like there should be one rule. There are no rules. Have fun. That should be, right? Right? Anyone else find it weird that you're not supposed to lie as a Satanist? I'm like, where did you get that from? We're not even trying to be Satanists anymore, right? That's why you get into Satanism, is to not have rules. But they got rules. Okay? LeVay wrote, 1967, 11 Satanic Rules of the Earth. Number 1, do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. This is a church? Yeah, they got a website and everything. Number 2, do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. Most of you are thinking at this point, this is a 4th grader that wrote this, right? Number 3, why would you mock him? Because he's an idiot. That's why. The Bible calls him a fool. That's why. He's a fool. Anyone who says there is no God is a fool. Number 3, when in another's lair, that's a house for the normal people in the room, show him respect or else do not go there. Number 4, if a guest is in your lair and annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy. These are the rules you need to follow if you're worshiping Satan. But who are you really worshiping? Yourself. So tell you what, Christian, why don't you go ahead and not be merciful and keep telling me that you're worshiping Jesus? Satanism at least puts it on their homepage. Tell you what, don't be merciful and you're worshiping yourself. You're part of the Church of Satan. You're participating in demonic activity. So go ahead, Christian. Don't be merciful with people. That's the extension. That's a proxy of the dragon that we're reading about. Number 5, do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. 3/4 of you think I'm joking at this point. 1967, you can look it up, okay? The mating signal. I have yet to figure out what the heck that is, but number 6, and I don't want any speculation from the crowd at this point, right? Number 6, do not take that which does not belong to you. I can't steal. I get into Satanism and I can't steal. Talk about a raw deal, right? You're not supposed to steal. Do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and he cries out to be relieved. I don't know either. Number 7, acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all you have obtained. Now, what does that one mean? I have no clue. Number 8, do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. Number 9, do not harm little children. Someone should tell that to the worshipers of Baal. Number 10, do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for food. Number 11, finally, when walking in open territory, bother no one. Again, if I'm getting into Church of Satan, I'm going to be bothering people. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not stop, destroy him. If he does not stop, destroy him.
Wow.
You can look it up.
That's radical.
Destroy him. Destroy him. Now, it's interesting, yeah.
Should we do the opposite of those rules?
Pretty much. Don't think about going the opposite of Satan, because Satan has no opposite. Right? So don't try to make him the equal, like the opposing equal, as we've seen. Right? Make Jesus the standard alone, and that's it. Don't look to Satan for guidance and say, I'm going to do the opposite. Right? Now you're the anti-Satan, that gets you nowhere. Okay?
I'm not arguing that it's crazy, but like the not stealing and like the not harming little kids, like
It's part of a religion that was created in the 60s. They got to have some normalcy to them, or else, they're not even going to get the 4 members that they have, So you got to have some normalcy in it, right? But again, they're not even attempting to put spin on the fact that this is all about being an indulgent individual and worshiping yourself. And it's interesting that it says this. It says, back to our text, it says, who is like the beast, who is able to make war with him? He's powerful and he's victorious. He's a militant antichrist. Militant. One commentator says, worship of the devil and the devil's agent is justified purely on the ground of brute force. Purely by brute force. And then that's a lot of the rules, like don't do this, don't do that. Here's the 9 Satanic Statements by Anton LaVey. Did I call him Simon LaVey earlier? Anton LaVey. And this is originally posted in the Satanic Bible in 1969. It's just cliche and terrible, right? So these are the 9 Satanic Statements. Now, I told you, they don't even believe Satan exists. This is where they're going to lay out what Satanism is. Not just what you shouldn't do or what you should do on earth, rules to get by in society as a Satanist, right? These are the actual statements of the Church of Satan. Number 1, Satan represents, he doesn't exist. This concept of Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence. So go ahead, Christian, continue to fornicate with your boyfriend, girlfriend, continue to have sex outside of marriage and tell me you're a Christian. And not worshiping at the altar of Satan. Even the Church of Satan, who doesn't believe in Satan, understands that you reject abstinence and partake in indulgence. Number 2, Satan represents vital existence instead of a spiritual pipe dreams. Most of these have an exclamation point. All of them, I think, have an exclamation point at the end. So you're supposed to be really excited when you read them. Number 3, Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit. Number 4, you can openly laugh at him here. So, number 4, Satan represents kindness to those, here we go, Maybe I like number 4. Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. Number 5, Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. Where do you think they got that? No, the Bible. Jesus says, turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek, right? Number 6, Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires. You can't make this stuff up. Number 7, Satan represents man as just another animal. See? There's a lot of these lies that are threaded through common secular culture. Again, this is a secular religion. Have you thought about that? Like, that's a contradiction. This is a, quote, religion that even declares itself to be a church that says there is no God and there is no Satan. This is a secular religion. And it says, Satan represents man as just another animal. That's what we hear. There's 2 lies, especially men that we hear. One is that you're God. You can do whatever, you should do whatever, you're amazing, you're the dude. Or that we're animal, right? And Genesis 1 lays it out. There's God, then there's you, and then there's animals. He sets up himself above all, us as humankind, stamped with his image, and lower creation. Yes, it's okay to eat animals. It's part of God's creation. Yeah, I know. So was salad, right? And I eat that too. It's okay to eat lower creation because we do have dominion over animals. But Satanism represents man as just another animal. So go ahead, Christian, indulge yourself in all your quote-unquote internal desires. Just reduce yourself to an animal that can only barely respond and barely contain all your animal desires. Go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that and keep telling yourself that you're not serving at the proxy of Satanism. So it says that Satan represents man as just another animal, sometimes better, more often worse than those that walk on all fours, who, because of his, quote, divine spiritual and intellectual development, has become the most vicious animal of all. Number 8, Satan represents all of the so-called sins as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. Satan represents all of the so-called sins as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. And number 9, Satan has been the best friend the church has ever had. Number 9, capital C, church, the Christian church. There's one church, one true church, capital C. The ninth Satanic Statement by the founder of the Church of Satanism says, Satan has been the best friend the church has ever had as he has kept it in business all these years. That is the modern manifestation of this idea that we are gods. We worship at the altar of ourselves, our emotions, our makeup, whatever we think to be natural at times. Because keep in mind, people say it's natural, it's natural, it's natural. Nature is fractured. It's sinful. Church of Satan comes alongside and says the epitome of Satanism is the worship of self. And they're right. They're absolutely right. Satan doesn't have to get you to worship him. He just has to get you to worship something instead of Jesus.